This is the all-new Poco X3 Pro. It comes with a flagship Snapdragon 860 processor and oh boy, this smartphone is fast. In this video, I'll be comparing the Poco X3 Pro with the Poco X3 NFC. The Poco X3 Pro is faster, no doubt about that, but how fast is it? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. Before we compare these two smartphones, let's talk about the price. The Poco X3 Pro goes for $229 for the 6GB RAM, 128GB internal storage version, and guess what? The Poco X3 NFC, the previous version, goes for the same price with the same specifications. This is simply unbelievable. What on earth is going on at Poco? For the external features, both smartphones are identical, so identical that you can swipe the nano SIM card tray and they fit perfectly. At the bottom, both smartphones come with a 3.5mm audio jack, USB Type-C port, a mic. Both smartphones have stereo speakers. This is the first speaker. The second speaker is located at the top. For the speakers, they sound exactly the same. And the rear of both smartphones vibrates when you increase the volume, which I like. Now back to the top, both smartphones have an IR blaster and a secondary microphone. Moving to the right side, both smartphones have the volume and power button. The power button doubles as the fingerprint scanner, and the fingerprint scanner of the Poco X3 Pro unlocks faster than the Poco X3 NFC. Face unlock is fast on both smartphones and it's accurate. Now how durable are these smartphones? Well, both smartphones have a plastic rear and frame, and because plastic is tough, you're not going to have any issues if you happen to drop this smartphone on the floor. Both smartphones have the same IP rating, IP53 dust and splash resistance, and in my test, they can be submerged in water for a bit and they will survive. Where the Poco X3 Pro edges out the Poco X3 NFC in terms of build quality is in the display protection. The Poco X3 Pro display is protected with Corning Gorilla Glass 6, while the Poco X3 NFC has Corning Gorilla Glass 5 protection, making the Poco X3 Pro more durable. Corning Gorilla Glass 6 is superior and it offers improved drop and scratch protection, so for the build quality, the Poco X3 Pro wins as it has the superior display protection. Now for the display, there isn't any improvement from the previous version. Both displays are identical. They have the same measurement at 6.67 inches. They have the same screen to body ratio. They have the same resolution at 1080p by 2400 pixels, the same brightness at 450 nits, the same 120Hz refresh rate, and the same 240Hz touch sampling rate. The display isn't bad for an IPS LCD panel. I really like the colors it produces. This panel is actually one of my favorite IPS LCD panels, and it kind of produces colors like it's an AMOLED display, kinda. Consuming content on both devices, it's immersive. So guys, for the display, it's a tie. No improvement here, they are basically the same. Performance is the only area where the improvement between these two smartphones is huge, and I mean huge. The Poco X3 Pro comes with a Snapdragon 860 chipset. It's a 7nm processor, a flagship processor, while the Poco X3 NFC comes with a Snapdragon 732G processor, an 8nm processor, and that's a mid-range processor. How fast is the Snapdragon 860 compared to the Snapdragon 732G? Well, let's start with the user interface. Scrolling on the Poco X3 Pro is noticeably smoother, especially when you go to the Google Discover page. Launching applications is faster on the Poco X3 Pro. It doesn't matter what application it is, the Poco X3 Pro would open it faster than the Poco X3 NFC. And that's partly because of the fast processor and the faster read and write speed. The Poco X3 Pro comes with UFS 3.1, while the Poco X3 NFC comes with UFS 2.1. Looking at the Antutu benchmark result, the Poco X3 Pro has the higher numbers, and for the Geekbench result, again the Poco X3 Pro wins. With the Snapdragon 860 processor and Adreno 640 GPU, gameplay is superior on the Poco X3 Pro compared to the Poco X3 NFC. PUBG ran on HDR graphics and extreme frame rate on the Poco X3 Pro, while it ran on high graphics and high frame rate on the Poco X3 NFC. Gameplay on both smartphones was good. Genshin Impact ran on the highest graphics settings on both smartphones, but gameplay was much better and smoother on the Poco X3 Pro. Real Racing and Asphalt 9 ran perfectly on both smartphones. Call of Duty ran on the highest graphics settings on the Poco X3 Pro, while it ran on high graphics and maximum frame rate on the Poco X3 NFC. Again, the gameplay on both smartphones was good. The Poco X3 Pro with the Snapdragon 860 chipset and Adreno 640 GPU handles demanding games far better than the Poco X3 NFC. And if you're a gamer, you need to upgrade to the Poco X3 Pro as it is more powerful. For multitasking, I found both smartphones to be equal to the task as both smartphones have 6GB of RAM. Multitasking wasn't an issue for both smartphones. For the operating system, both smartphones are running on Android 11. The Poco X3 NFC is running on MIUI 12.0.6, while the Poco X3 Pro is running on MIUI 12.0.4. I'm sure the Poco X3 Pro would get an update to bring it up to par with the Poco X3 NFC very soon. So guys, for the performance, hands down the Poco X3 Pro wins. Now moving to the front camera, the Poco X3 Pro comes with a 20MP f2.2 camera, and it's the same front-facing camera with the Poco X3 NFC. Now looking at the pictures captured from both smartphones, the pictures look identical. My skin tone on the Poco X3 NFC is a bit darker, while the skin tone on the Poco X3 Pro is brighter. I prefer how pictures look on the Poco X3 NFC, but both cameras did a very good job, and to me, they actually look identical. Hello guys, so here's a video from the front-facing camera of both smartphones. They can both shoot in 1080p, 30 frames per second, no 4K unfortunately on both smartphones, and no image stabilization when you're using the front camera. So what do you guys think about the video quality coming out from the camera and audio quality coming out from the camera of both smartphones? Now moving to the rear camera, the Poco X3 Pro comes with a 48MP camera, while the Poco X3 NFC comes with a 64MP camera. Which main camera is better? Well, for me, I prefer the pictures from the Poco X3 Pro. Which one do you guys prefer? Let me know in the comment section below. For the ultra-wide camera, the Poco X3 Pro comes with an 8MP camera, while the Poco X3 NFC comes with a 13MP camera. To my eyes, I prefer the pictures from the Poco X3 NFC. Both smartphones come with a 2MP depth and 2MP macro camera, and the pictures they capture are just there. Night photos are way better on the Poco X3 Pro. Overall, I think the Poco X3 Pro wins the camera comparison, but not by much. Hello guys, here's a video from the rear camera of both smartphones. They can both shoot on 4K 30 frames per second. So what do you guys think about the video quality coming out from both smartphones? Let's check out the dynamic range. Looks alright. So what do you guys think about the video quality and audio quality of both smartphones? Let me know in the comment section below. Now for the batteries, both smartphones come with a 5160 mAh battery with a 33W fast charger. I played PUBG for an hour on both smartphones and the battery level was the same. I'll be doing a battery drain test that will involve all the smartphones on the table, so subscribe if you don't want to miss out on that video. Now in conclusion, the Poco X3 Pro might look like the Poco X3 NFC, but when it comes to performance, the Poco X3 Pro blows every smartphone away. If you're on a budget and you want the most powerful smartphone for gaming, multitasking, if you want a budget smartphone that performs on par with flagship devices, this is it guys. Look no further. The Poco X3 Pro is the best budget smartphone available in the market, and no other smartphone is going to take its crown. So guys, we've come to the end of this video. If you found this video to be useful, hit the like button, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching once again, and I will see you guys soon. Valo signing out.